Well, once again, it's a tale of two Labor leaders. Now, first, listen to the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's word salad when asked about the mosques commemorating terror leader Ayatollah Khamenei.
You said no one will mourn the Ayatollah, but there are reports this afternoon that at least 4 Shiite institutions in Australia have either published obituaries of him or are going to hold memorials to him. Should those materials be withdrawn? Should those memorials go ahead?
Look, we have a clear position as the Australian government, and I think overwhelmingly Australians will have that position. We in this country have a different approach to people having different views from a totalitarian regime such as Iran. But our position is very clear, and I'm sure that is shared by the overwhelming majority of Australians, including the overwhelming number of Australians of Iranian descent.
I mean, what even was that answer? The Prime Minister of our nation, of our country, of all Australians, can't bring himself to strongly condemn those worshipping a terrorist leader responsible for the murder of thousands, tens of thousands, and the cruel oppression and execution of his own people. Albanese's moral weakness is beyond belief. Well, Sarah Ferguson pushed him again, and Albanese eventually slightly strengthened his language.
I mean, these are tricky areas, I understand, but I just want to be clear about that. Do you think that memorials for the death of the Ayatollah Khamenei should go ahead in Australia or not?
Well, I don't think they're appropriate, and certainly I think that overwhelmingly people won't be participating.
Now compare this to New South Wales Premier Chris Minns. Asked the same question on a couple of occasions now. He immediately blasted those worshipping Khamenei as inappropriate.
I think it's atrocious. I mean, by any objective measure, the Ayatollah was evil. And I don't think that we should be mincing words about this.
He wasn't speaking about the Prime Minister, but it sounds like he could have been. He wasn't, though. And by the way, the Premier is already copping flack for this. Well, Albanese will never be half the leader Minns is, and it comes naturally to him. He doesn't have to be given the lines or rehearse what to say. It's instinctive. And then you look at Albanese's close friend, Penny Wong, who's been calling for de-escalation. De-escalation. At the very same time that Trump's team are vowing to escalate the military campaign on Iran even further to keep future generations safe. Well, Penny Wong finally strengthened her position on the mosques commemorating Khamenei, but it took more than 24 hours after the reports first emerged. And she still wouldn't say that taxpayer funding to these institutions would be withdrawn.
Are you going to withdraw the money for these mosques where people are mourning the Ayatollah?
Well, first, in relation to the mourning of the Ayatollah that's been reported, can I say I'm really disappointed that people would want to do that. This is a man who's led a regime which has caused death.
So will you withdraw the funding?
Well, I wasn't aware of the funding till it became public today, and I'm sure that the relevant minister will be, looking at why at this. But
looking at the... No, why can't they just say it will not get taxpayer funds? Wong should be much stronger in support of America and Israel's strikes on Iran. And this was Ray Hadley's message to Penny Wong right here last night.
Stand up for those poor people in that oppressive regime who can't have the luxury of the life that you afford yourself and we support. For goodness sake, stop talking about diplomacy when it doesn't work.
But Penny Wong isn't the only one on the left who finds it very difficult to praise America and Israel's action against Iran. Another ABC journalist has expressed his opinion. It follows in the footsteps of John Lyons, who, you'll remember, said this.
I think it's being driven by Israel. I think Donald Trump's susceptible to being played. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is playing him. I think the real agenda here is, for a long time, Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel have wanted regime change in Iran. They've made no secret of that. And I think that they have convinced Donald Trump to come along for this.
And now the ABC radio host, Raphael Epstein, well, he wasn't as blatant in his criticism, but he couched his views in questions.
Australia found out about this war not from diplomats, but from the president's own social media company. There was no Oval Office address. He wasn't in the Situation Room when it was launched. He's boasting about killing leaders more quickly than expected. It is called, the name of the operation is Operation Epic Fury. Is that the way the opposition wants a global leader to run a war?
We support the action that the United States and Israel have taken for the reasons that I just outlined. And
appreciate that, but that's a very different way to run a war. Is the opposition concerned about that at all? Is the war legal? Do you care? Does it matter if it's legal? I have heard you say that Russia's invasion was illegal. I'm pretty sure I've heard you use the phrase rules-based order when it comes to China's naval operations. Why do the laws matter then but not now? So does adjusting to that reality mean that the laws of war are only a nice to have? They are no longer a must have. Is that what it means?
Well,
and as you might have been able to tell there, he was interviewing James Patterson, who, as usual, handled the questions very well. Then over on Sunrise, this woman who calls herself Boss Lady, Amanda Rose, espoused what are, in my opinion, quite extreme views. She only reluctantly admitted that Khamenei was a tyrant, and in the next breath she said Trump was too. So, yep, she's confusing Trump with the Iranian Supreme Leader.
Do you call the Ayatollah a tyrant?
I don't particularly like the way he did business and how he ran the country.
Pretty easy question.
Well, I think he's a tyrant in his behaviour, yes, okay. But I've called Trump one, and I said he's got a God complex because he just decides I'm going to bomb a country because I think I've got the moral superiority to do so.
So you think they're the same?
Yes, I do.
And that went on for quite a while. Well, to be very clear, there is a right and wrong side here. Iran, under Ayatollah Khamenei, murdered women who did not wear their veil correctly. It publicly stoned to death women who were accused of committing adultery, no matter if the accusations were true or false. Gay men and women were killed. There is no human rights in Iran, no freedom, not even dancing or singing. The morality police inflict unimaginable cruelties that we wouldn't even consider in our modern era. Not to mention that Iran was amassing weapons to destroy all of Israel and to reach the West. America and Israel are in this war for the right reasons, to fight for peace. It's why all of those Muslim-majority countries quietly support their fight. It's why they are reserving their right to take action against Iran, siding with America. Yet for many on the left, their hatred of America and Israel blinds and infects their viewpoint. We should be very clear-eyed about the reasons behind this war and the threat that Iran has posed and continues to pose to all of us.